That's fine. That's fine. Hi, everyone. It's Suzaida Hippolito, your Elevate co host. I'm here with my other co host, Shawnee Cotton.
Hey
Uh,
everyone.
apologies for the delay. We've been troubleshooting our mic issue, and we have our amazing guest speaker, Andrea Lewis. She had to drop off, and she's gonna hop back on so that we can do some mic testing here. So bear with us, you guys. We're working through some technical issues. Anyway, yeah, so we are going to be talking about emotional freedom technique tapping. And Shanae actually, oh, there's Andrea. So I'm gonna add Andrea. Hold on, you guys. All right, here we go. I think we're good. Let's try this. All right, Andrea.
Hi, is
Oh
still
yeah,
an echo?
We can hear you.
I think it's good. Yeah, I think
Okay,
it's
I
good.
adjusted the mic settings.
Okay, cool. Well, there's a different echo, but I think we can work with it. So let's do it. Let's work with it.
Okay, if the echo gets too much, you guys, I'm so sorry. If the echo gets too much, I know that sound is everything in this case. If the echo gets too much, we're gonna have to cut this live, and we'll just do another. We'll reschedule another live interview. But let's give it a few minutes, and we'll see what happens. All right, so here we are. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we have here with us Andrea Lewis. And Andrea is a certified EFT practitioner. And we're so excited that she can join us today because she's going to walk us through and help us understand the ways in which we can apply emotional freedom technique tapping as a way to manage our daily stress, manage our worries, and even work through some of the bodily pain that we experience. And so, can I ask first, before we continue, can I ask the audience, can you guys give some feedback and let us know how our sound is? Is our sound okay?
Yeah, let us know in the chat.
Because I am picking up a lot of feedback. Let's see here. All right.
We have
Okay, and are you seeing any comments, Shanae? Okay, we'll keep going here. All right, Andrea, please tell us about your journey with emotional freedom technique tapping. I know it's something that you came upon back in 2014. So tell us a little bit about your background, please, so we can get to know you, or the audience can get to know you a little more.
Sure. My name is Andrea, and I'm an accredited certified EFT practitioner. And I discovered EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique, back in January 2014. And I say it is an answer to a prayer, because I was looking for something that would help me ease the worries and stress and fears that I was going through. And I don't know if you heard of Hay House, Louise Hay. She was one of the leaders of being aware of your thoughts. So I was on her email list and received this email about the World Tapping Summit given by the Ortner family. And it's actually coming up this month on the 22nd for 10 days. So if you can, tune into it. And I learned for 10 days how to use tapping, where you tap with your fingertips on the meridian energy points throughout your body, but for tapping on your upper body, face, and head. And it releases the stress because you're tapping on the meridian energy points. How many people here have been to acupuncture? Shanae or Suzaida?
Yep.
The same places that acupuncturists place their needles is where you would use acupressure with your fingertips to redistribute and release that energy that's stuck because of trapped emotions. So I did that for 10 days and I felt pretty good. And then I had an additional 40 days of 10 to 15 minutes of tapping every day. So for 50 days straight, I was tapping for 15 to like 10 to 15 minutes. And I felt a release and I felt wonderful afterwards.
Wow.
And I was so excited and enthused. I wanted to go on and learn how to learn more about it. So I took a certification. I started certification later that year. And about 2 years later, and it doesn't take 2 years, but because of life, and I kept putting it on a back burner, I received my certification. So that's when I started helping other people. And I must say I needed it today because, like I was telling Suzaida, I got on like at the last minute because I misjudged my time when I was running errands, and I'm like beating myself up, and I'm like, okay, I need to like tap this out. So, I'm using the gamut point. So I'm just kind of like sitting there talking to myself in my head, as I'm driving home, and when I'm sitting here booting up the computer. I'm like, okay, calm down. You need to like just relax. And I'm just pressing this point, which is also known as like the anger point. So you just press it. It's the gamut point, the nine gamut, and it's between your pinky finger and your ring finger, and you just press or you tap, and it helps soothe you and calm you down really quick. So, if you're in a meeting or in public or something, do this, even in a car, so you don't have road rage.
Oh, wow. Right?
Yeah. When people cut you off or flip you the finger, just tap here.
I'm feeling this right now. Very funny.
So that's when I discovered it. And just to go through what the tapping points are, um, for EFT tapping, you start with the side of your hand, where you just tap on the side of your hand, and you do something called the setup statement 3 times, where you acknowledge the emotion and you accept yourself for feeling the emotion. So say you're just worried, and a lot of people are worried these days. So you just say something like, even though I feel this worry and I feel it in my chest, I deeply approve and accept myself. Even though I feel this worry because I'm going to be late, I deeply approve and accept myself. Even though I feel this worry because these cars aren't moving fast enough for me, I deeply approve and accept myself. So that's the setup statement. And then you go to the top of your head. And this is where all the meridian energy points meet. They converge at the top of your head. So when you tap up here, you're waking up your entire energy system. Side of your eye, right here, not the temple, but right here. This worry.
This worry.
And then underneath the eye, this worry. So, and yes, Shanae, you would be repeating after me as I go to the points. Under the nose, which is between the upper lip and the nose, this worry.
This worry.
And you do it this way. Oh, when I do this, I'm just showing you which way it goes. And then underneath your bottom lip, between your chin and your bottom lip right there, this worry.
This worry.
And then your collarbone, which is right below, your collarbones are right here. So go down about 2 inches right there, this worry.
This worry.
And then underneath your armpit, about 2 to 3 inches below your armpit, that's the next point, this worry.
This worry.
And then I've been adding something lately, your inner wrist, this worry. And then the back of your wrist, this worry.
This worry.
And then you take a deep breath and let it out. And that's considered a round of tapping. So before you tap, the practitioner will, Suzaida? I think she froze a little. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I thought she was like really into it because. So the practitioner will ask you on a scale of 0 to 10 what your intensity level is for the feeling, in this case, the worry, from 0 being non-existent to 10 being like high. So you could say anywhere, and it's subjective. It's usually called subjective units of distress. So just whatever number pops up in your head. And some people, they don't do well with numbers. I've had that in sessions where they can't give me a number. So I would say something like, is it this small? Is it medium? Or is it like really big? So you could do it that way too. Or you could also ask if the feeling that you have has a shape to it. Does it have a density? Is it wispy? Is it solid? Does it have a color? Is it red? Is it green or orange or black? Anything to kind of pinpoint it and tap on it. So you get those details and then you tap on that emotion. And then the other thing you'll notice, I said, even though I feel this worry in my chest, sometimes you feel it in your head, sometimes you feel it in your chest, you can feel it in your solar plexus, you can feel it in your low back, and you tap on that too. And that's the other thing about the emotion. The CDC, as well as other professionals, say that 85 to 90% of all diseases or illnesses have an emotional component. So you release the emotional component, and the disease or the illness or pain, because you can tap on pain too, like back pain, knee pain, the pain or illness will disappear or ease. So that's why it's important to acknowledge your emotions. So many times in society, I'll speak for myself, like growing up, you're told, oh, don't feel that way. You shouldn't feel that, or you don't have a right to be angry, or don't get too excited. So what do you do with all those emotions? You eat them, you stuff them down, and then they come out in other ways that's not appropriate or does you harm. So that's how I became started with tapping, and where it's led me. It's really helped a lot, and I enjoy helping other people help themselves, because that's what it is. It's helping yourself. It's not that you have to come to me all the time, but once you learn the techniques, you can self-soothe or self-manage yourself in the situation as it pops up.
I love this. It's the ultimate self-love practice and disruptor of a pattern. So now we've talked about this before, Andrea. I would love to ask you. So sometimes when we're in it, right, going through that painful experience or traumatic emotion that's coming up, like for me personally, I don't necessarily feel like talking through it, even figuring out like I want to choose to disrupt the pattern right now and transmute it. So could you let us know how we can do that, without the talking?
Sure. You can use tapping without talking. You can just tap through the points while you think about whatever's going on. So let's do that now, starting with the side of the hand. Just tap as you're thinking about what's going on. And then just follow me. Side of the hand, top of the head, eyebrow point, side of the eye. And remember, you just, no filter, just thinking about what's going on. Nobody can hear you. So just let your mind go, say what you got to say as you're tapping. Under the nose, under the bottom lip, collarbone, under the arm, inner wrist, back of the wrist. And then you take a deep breath. Now that's one way to do it. And you can do this when you wake up in the middle of the night or early in the morning, first thing. You could tap through the points, because sometimes you wake up and immediately your to-do list pops into your mind. or you're worried about something that you didn't leave in yesterday, it followed you to the new day. The other thing you can do to help calm you down quickly too is tap and breathe. Do the same thing we just did, but we're going to tap and breathe. So follow along, so side of the hand, breathe in. And you can keep your eyes closed or open. Breathe out. Top of the head, breathe in. Breathe out. Eyebrow point, breathe in. Breathe out. Side of the eye, breathe in. Breathe out. Under the eye, breathe in. Breathe out. I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to feel good already. Under the nose, breathe in. Breathe out. Under the bottom lip, breathe in. Breathe out. Collarbone, breathe in. Breathe out. Under the arm, breathe in. Breathe out. Inner wrist, breathe in. Breathe out. Back of the wrist, breathe in. Breathe out. Okay. How was that?
Amazing.
Yeah, I felt like by the third point, I felt myself just like coming down. What I wanted to say is that that's great for children and teenagers. It's a great way to introduce them to this, and it's a great way to help them self-regulate and increase their emotional IQ so that they're able to do this wherever they are, even at school. So that's a good way to teach it to kids.
Okay, well, that's really powerful, Andrea, to be able to help the children with EFT tapping, because I know, releasing those emotions at such a young age, or being able to like clear them, imagine, the impact of that. So thanks for sharing that. So you've helped many. Well, actually, I was going to, even at the expert level, Andrea, right? Use these. Whoa, the sound is. So I think actually that's.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to drop off, Shanae. I'm gonna watch the interview. I'll be on in the background and I'll come on silently because I think it's something with my mic connection that's causing interference.
Okay, well, why don't you put it back on? We'll see if it's So it try to hop back on. All right, sister. All right, see you soon. All right, so let's go ahead and continue. I still hear a little bit of background, but that's okay. Can you hear me okay, Andrea?
Yes, I can.
All right, perfect. All right, so I was going to say that even as an expert, we're going to have these tools. It's helpful if we can use EFT tapping even at the expert level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we need to be healers of healers. So, could you also still do tapping for yourself to clear the blocks? Like, everybody gets to have support, right? So even at the expert level, how do we masterfully clear those energy blocks?
The same techniques that we teach our clients, we use on ourselves, but also we tap with someone.
Okay.
Once a week, I have a tapping buddy, and we tap on each other. So we bring up what ever is triggering us at that moment or the past week, and we tap on it. She'll be the practitioner and I'm the client, and then vice versa. So yeah, we tap with other people too to work on our own issues as well as tap on ourselves. And a good way to do that, not just for ourselves, but for other people also, is something called the personal peace procedure, where you can work on it yourself or you work with a practitioner on it. And what the personal peace procedure is you write down everything that triggers you, that upsets you, that you don't like, from like this point in time to as far back as you can go. And then you just start working on each issue to tap on it. Now, if you're like in your 40s or 60s, you're like, wow, that's a lifetime of stuff, as opposed to somebody who's in their 20s. But what you'll find is as you start tapping on certain things, it collapses other triggers. So that one thing you tap on could be holding up something else. And when you collapse that or release it, other stuff will release too. So you'll realize as you're going through your list, like, oh, that doesn't bother me anymore, or that doesn't bother me. And you'll get to the place where you can be at peace in a situation where it won't bother you anymore. You can just look at it objectively. Like, what do they say where have no judgment, have no story for what you hear or see or experience. Just observe it. Same thing with your thoughts. You just observe the thought. You don't, you become an observer of the thought. You don't attach a story to it or a judgment.
Okay. That's really interesting. Because I know people feel like EFT, when you're going through the tapping points and you're actually addressing the feeling, like, oh, I'm feeling pain right now, I'm feeling this, and really acknowledging it. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to put that energy out into the field. Could you speak on that a little bit, and how EFT really doesn't do that, and how that's a misunderstanding?
Yeah, I've had the same issue. Sometimes I'm still reluctant with that, where I don't want to put something out there. But it's kind of like you have to acknowledge what's going on in order to release it. And then when you release it, you can do the positive affirmations, the positive statements, and have it mean something and be effective. Because when you're trying to put a positive over a negative, it's not going to work. So you have to acknowledge what's there. Because remember, the whole point of the setup statement is acknowledging the emotion, the pain, and then accepting yourself for having it. So if you don't say it, you're not acknowledging it. And you have to speak it. I heard a psychiatrist speak once recently, and she was speaking on a TD Jakes, and she said that you have to speak it. You have to talk, and that's a problem. A lot of times with the African American community or people of color is that you don't talk. And if you're not talking, what do you do with it? It comes out in other ways. You try to eat it away. You try to use drugs to take it away. You drink to take it away. You have all these anger issues. So, yeah, disease, cancer, certain types of cancers are related to certain emotions. So you have to talk. You have to say it. And it's not like you're perpetually saying it, because a belief is a thought that you keep saying over and over again. So it's not like you're saying this negative emotion or this fear over and over again. You're saying it once or twice to release it so that you can move on.
Wow.
That was good. I had to remind myself of that.
Every now and again, absolutely. Because when I'm doing it sometimes and I'm really feeling it, I'm like, man, I don't want to put that out there, but it's like all parts of us get to be acknowledged. You know what I mean? And those parts get to be met with love and cleared.
Yeah.
So It's interesting. I actually had a question. You kind of delved into it, but I would love to delve a little bit deeper. So now, my secret sauce, Andrea. So like I personally, I love to use EFT tapping, and then when we've talked about this before, you being such a good friend and colleague of mine, and us being in a beautiful program together. So I love to do EFT tapping, and then do like a heart opening meditation to really like after clearing the emotion to expand the heart and then pretty much like create anything I want and manifest anything. Do you have some practices that you like to do, that really juicy combinations that we can put together with EFT for a kind of broader audience to see what works for them?
Well, my morning routine is a couple of things. I wake up and say thank you, acknowledge God, and for this new day. And then I go into prayer, or what I like to say is talking to God, because some people get put off by the word prayer. So I'll just say I'm just having a talk with God. And I'll tap. Like, I used to tap the points as I was praying, but I found that distracting. So now I'll either just tap my heart point, or I'll press and hold the gamut point as I'm talking with God. Heart point. Yeah. So you can use two hands. I don't know if you noticed, but I use two hands when I'm tapping. You can do left, right, both. I just like double bang for the buck.
So it enhances it, right, Andrea? So when you use both hands.
I'm sorry, what was that?
When you use both hands, does that enhance the release or the clearing of the energy when you do it from both points?
I like to think so. And also, speaking of that, having water nearby when you're tapping also helps, especially if you're doing a session or you're going to be tapping for a while. Water helps, from what they say, helps facilitate the flow of energy. So, which kind of makes sense, because if you're dehydrated, nothing's flowing. So, and we're 70+% water anyway. So that makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, so that's what I do. I tap while I'm talking with God, and I do check-ins. Well, you know about check-ins. So I do check-ins like about 2 or 3 times a day, like around noon, then around 4, and plus the morning one. And I'll tap there too, during the check-ins, because I'm having another chat with God. I'm also checking where I am emotionally, where I'll do a meditation to see where I'm at, and I acknowledge that. So that's what I do too. And if something comes up during that I need to tap on, then I'll stop and like tap it down. But that's when I do it, like in the morning when I'm praying or chatting with God.
Okay. There's a huge component, right? I love how you talk about the check-in points and what that actually looks like for you. I set my alarm, honestly, probably 7 times a day to check in with my emotions, to see, what, to be aware of like what those emotions are, and then use tapping, right, to clear through it. So it's so powerful. Would you say would you say that the combination is better, or can EFT, do you feel like it just works all on its own by itself?
I think it works on its own by itself. You can add other things to it if that you feel that helps you. Especially like with the prayer or talking with God, sometimes things will come up where you have to tap on it to release it. And also, talking with God is another way of releasing. There's this scripture that says, I'm drawing a blank right now, but be careful for nothing, but everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, shall keep your heart and your mind. So as you're talking with God, there's a peace that'll come over you. And with tapping, it'll probably help you do that quicker too.
Wow. Accelerated quantum. Love it. Um, so I've used EFT as the most immediate tool for disrupting a disempowering pattern. What would you say has been the most severe case that you've come into alignment with, Andrea, that you've ever witnessed that EFT had cleared right in the moment?
The most severe case.
Case that EFT really, in the moment, just disrupted the pattern and worked for them.
I would say a case I had where she actually, this was recent. I don't know why it's popping up, but and you might have seen it. She had an incident with her daughter, and she set a boundary where she never set a boundary before, and she was feeling bad about setting that boundary, but she felt she had to make an example to not let her daughter disrespect her or treat her badly. So we tapped on that, and after tapping, she got to the point where she realized she did do the right thing in setting that boundary, and that she had to respect herself first, and kind of like a form of self-love before she could expect other people to do that for her. So she felt better after tapping that she did do the right thing, because before, she would have just let her daughter get away with it. Like, she would have been upset and not done anything and then felt bad. But tapping helped her realize, no, you have to love yourself first and set that boundary, no matter who it is.
Wow. And that so quickly, that's the amazing thing about EFT. Like, I feel like every single time I've gone through it and tapped through those points, it's the quickest, for me, it's been like the quickest way to really acknowledge yourself and move past it. So I want to have a simple conversation about EFT and what your opinions are actually on certification, because you are a certified EFT practitioner, and there are a lot of practitioners out there without certification that are practicing EFT. I want to have a conversation about that with you. How do you feel about the practice of EFT and whether people are certified or not, and how do people get certified who might be interested to spread this beautiful modality?
Well, when I became certified in 2014, well, let me say, I took level 1 and level 2 classes for certification with Dr. Dawson Church and John D. Whitus, who were two well-known people in the field of tapping. They're both masters. Mm-hmm. And their point of view was that you had to do in-person classes to get your certification, because there was nothing more like hands-on training, so that you could be observed how you're interacting with the client and what your style is. But since we are in a pandemic and 2020 happened and we've had to go online, EFT Universe and EFTinternational.org, two of the places I was certified through, two of the bigger places, they've gone online. So now they have online certification. And they're making that work, but there's something to be said for in-person training and mentorship. I'll never forget one of my mentors, Alina Frank. She's another EFT master on the West Coast. Oh, I referred you to her.
Right.
She and her husband came to New York. Every fall they would do a New York training, and I had went, and I was getting certified, and I had to have an in-person observation by my mentor. So I took that opportunity to attend the class and have her observe me. And we were supposed to pick something that was a, level 5 intensity level, nothing too big, nothing too small, something that we could collapse right there in the class in like 15 minutes. So the person I was working with, she picked something she thought was a 5, but as we tapped, she started crying. Like, she started to really get triggered. And that was the first time that ever happened to me. And I didn't know what to do. And my mentor is sitting there, Alina sitting there observing me. And I just looked at her like a deer in headlights, like, what do I do? And so she took over and she showed me that, she just worked with the girl. She said, okay, just focus in the room, because the girl had closed her eyes. And she said, no, open your eyes, stay focused. And she tapped with her through the points without saying anything until she calmed down. And by the way, that's a trick you could use with kids too, that they can use in their own. If a kid is really upset, just start tapping on them. You can either tap on them or have them tap on themselves until they calm down. So that's what Alina did. And the woman, she calmed down. And then once she did, I was able to continue tapping with her. And the woman, she's like, I'm so sorry. I thought I had done my work on that. That's the other thing too. You think you worked on something, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, there's something deeper. So, yeah. So we continued tapping, but I never forgot that. And when that happened again, because it did happen again, like now I'm aware of the signals. Like if I see somebody's eyes starting to tear up, I know, okay, we hit something and I need to calm her down before it gets overwhelming. So now I know what to do. And that's because I had that in-person mentoring, that coaching, someone right there. So there's a lot to be said for that. But like I said, now we're in a pandemic and that's kind of harder. So, they're making it work with virtual. But that's how I started training, where training was in person and you had to do 40 case studies. I think now it's up to 50 case studies to get your certification, as well as you have to take an ethics quiz and a EFT quiz. So, yeah, there was a lot involved. So you have to take level 1 and level 2. They're both 2-day courses. Then you have to do 40 to 50 case studies, and you have to write them up, who you worked with, when, what it was about. You have to, when I did it, you had to be observed, and you had to take the ethics and the EFT quiz. So, yeah, there's a lot involved. And I think that helped me become a better tapping practitioner than someone who just does it. You look at 50 YouTube videos and that's it. You don't really have feedback on what to do, because there's like nuances, stuff that I picked up from the masters that now I can remember or refer back to, or, they'll come to my mind. So I think training is important. Also, because the field isn't regulated like psychiatrists and therapists, where you have to be licensed by the state or whatever, you don't want to do harm. You want to know what you're doing if you're working with somebody with deep emotional issues. Like for me, part of ethics is that if somebody is on medication, if they're seeing a psychiatrist or a therapist, I ask them, did you speak with them about this? Tell them what you're doing, so that we could work together. Because I don't want to step into their territory or go into areas that I'm not qualified to be in. So it for me, it's important to be certified. So you do no harm. I know we're not doctors, but you don't want to do harm.
Yeah. And looking at integrity and the ethics of it is a very interesting concept, because a lot of people are practicing EFT without being certified. So, where the intention, right, is to do good and to relieve pain and to, elevate others. So it's a very yeah, it's a very interesting thing to talk about. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing that, Andrea.
Thanks for asking.
I love it. So, what was interesting that came up for me, you were talking about how in the middle of someone having this like, you were talking about the scale, you choose on a scale of 1 to 10, where is the emotion lying? Acknowledge it. Like, let's say we start at a 5, right? And have that awareness, or think of it as a shape or whatever tool that we use to measure where the emotion is starting or how we're feeling. And then in the middle of tapping, it turns into like a 9. Does that happen often? And then the first signs are when people start to tear up, and then they can just start tapping through the meridian points.
Yeah. Well, the whole point of EFT tapping is to get to the root of the issue. Because so many times you don't get to the root cause. They say that about illnesses too. You want to get to the root of the illness. A lot of times doctors treat just the symptoms. So you want to get to what the root cause is, because when you get to the root, you kill the symptoms. So a lot of times, like, we start out and they may be a 5, but like you said, they go up to a 9. That's good, because that means we're getting somewhere. It's not a bad thing. It just means we have to get to the root cause. We're not getting there yet.
So is that the catalyst to start using different words, or, after you settle it down a bit, get to a calm place, tap through the points, and then kind of, okay, now let's re-navigate and, use different terminology perhaps to get down deep into it.
Yes. An EFT practitioner is like a detective. They use probing questions to get to what the issue is. So they'll ask you questions. So you're like a detective. If it's an incident that's when they were 13, you'll ask, okay, so where were you at? Like who was around you? Or even like take pain. Like say someone has back pain, and you're like, okay, you just had a back spasm. What was going on around you when you had that back spasm? Who were you talking to? Who were you with? What were you doing? What were you thinking? Because it's all emotions. So you find out what was going on, and you go from there.
Well, beautiful. It's so powerful. And so I'm going to open it up to, hello, sister. Suzette has joined us again. I'd love to go.
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. Really quickly, not that it kind of matters a little, but Shanae, so your mic should be moved to the side, so it's picking up the feedback, like the sound coming up is feeding into your mic. Yeah. So move it away from the speaker. No, move your mic away from the speaker of your computer, so it doesn't pick that up. Yeah.
Okay.
So you might, yeah, okay, that's better. I think that's better. Okay, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
So I wanted to go into the feed and actually see if we had any questions.
I was engaging in the chat, and there is some really nice comments that came through, and one from Aeon. Hopefully I'm saying her name right. She says, I feel like I'm at a concert. It gives a different vibe. Thank you for this wonderful expression so far. And she says, the tap is like a reinforcement to seeing, loving yourself. You connect with yang density to alchemize and walk with it to embrace into the yin yang experience.
Wow.
Very eloquently spoken.
Yeah, beautifully stated. And there was a question that you asked earlier, Shanae, and she said, great question, Shanae. 3 pillars of moving emotion most impactfully sound, movement, and breath. And I love to intuitively chant whilst doing so.
So sound, we get back to it.
Yeah.
Sound and frequencies. I mean, this is all movement of energy, right? We're moving energy and we're clearing it. So yeah, thanks so much for the engagement, everyone. And so this has been our conscious conversation. And Andrea, thank you so much for being with us. How can the people find you?
They can find me on my website at www.solaceforme.com. That's SOLACE, the number 4 ME.com. They can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I have a weekly radio program called The Power of EFT Tapping on WNJRradio.com. And that's Sundays, every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'm there also. And I thought about something also about being a certified practitioner. I'm also required, as through the agency, the organization I'm certified through, to have liability insurance. So that's the other thing too. When they're certified, they have liability insurance. So they're serious.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you. So everybody check on her out. She's, wonderful. We hold these tapping circles, and I certainly get so much value out of them. And just such a pleasure, Andrea.
Thank you.
And everyone stay tuned. We have these conscious conversations. We have them pretty much weekly, inconsistently. So we'll bring on beautiful experts to share their unique gifts with you. And stay tuned in the group. We have so much juicy goodness, in our community, our growing global community. It's growing so fast. And we have our fourth live stream event coming up, right, sister? It's going to be amazing. So stay tuned in the group for more, nuggets on that. And yeah, anything else?
Thank you. No, I want to thank you guys, ladies. Sorry, guys. I want to thank you, ladies, for this opportunity to bring EFT tapping to a global community through your community. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we'll see you again. Stay tuned. So much love and light to you all. Namaste.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.